So Lightyear was directed by Angus MacLane and it stars Chris Evans, Uzo Aduba, Kiki Palmer, Taika Waititi, James Brolin of all people, and it's his origin story of Buzz Lightyear and how he kind of became a space ranger, kind of. It's all really confusing. It's allegedly Andy's favorite movie as a kid, and that's what really wanted him to get a Buzz Lightyear toy when he was little. It's all really confusing if I'm being honest. So this was a movie that I'm going to be honest, I was not looking forward to this movie. The trailers themselves kind of looked uninteresting. The premise itself just didn't really seem to make sense. Like, oh, it's a spin-off movie of what exactly? Like it's the origin of Buzz Lightyear. But didn't he already have an origin story? Like didn't the TV show when like 20 years ago wasn't that an origin story enough? I don't know. It all seemed really confusing to me. And it never really, none of the controversies really bothered me too much. I guess like the whole Tim Allen thing was kind of surprising at first. And some people were like, oh, they're trying to cancel Tim Allen. From Disney's trying to cancel Tim Allen. He's working on the Santa Claus TV show for Disney Plus. So yeah, he's clearly canceled. As far as the trailer goes, the trailers just weren't that interesting to me, but I kind of chalked it up to how Pixar does trailers. The trailers aren't really that interesting to begin with, so I'm hopefully the movie is actually really good. And so I saw this movie a while back, and I haven't had time to review it. And the movie is, it's not terrible by any means. It's just not very interesting or very good, I should say. What works? Well, the animation, as always with a Pixar movie, the animation is top notch. I love the way the movie looks. The animation is great. I I do think a lot of these animated movies do get better with their animation, and Lightyear's no exception. The voice acting for the most part's not bad. Chris Evans, I thought he did an all right job as Buzz Lightyear. Uzo Aduba and Kiki Palmer do a good job with their performances. James Brolin for his brief role, he was good. I won't spoil it here, but it's been out for a few weeks. The twist in this movie, I honestly did not see coming. Usually with twists in movies, usually at this point, I just see them all coming because it's like it's not. It just seems like they're all out of ideas, and the twist in this movie, I actually did not see coming, and I actually thought it actually did work. But there are so many questions about that twist afterwards. Like when I started thinking about it, it just didn't make sense afterwards. I just did not. There's just a lot of questions about this movie, to be honest. And there are some individual moments I think do work, kind of showing how time works. Like when this may be a slight spoiler, but there are points where Buzz has to go back on a mission, and even though it takes him 4 minutes to do this mission, everyone else ages by 4 years. I thought that was an interesting way of showing time. Also, the score I thought was really good as well. It was a nice score overall. What is the problem with this movie? There's a lot of problems with this movie. First off, what is even the point of this movie? There is no real point to this movie. Again, they say at the beginning, it actually says, oh, this was Andy's favorite movie as a kid, and this is the movie that wanted him to get a Buzz Lightyear toy. This doesn't make sense for a few reasons. One, the film itself is very dry, it's very uninteresting, it's not funny, there's not a whole lot of humor in this movie. It just doesn't really work in that way. Also, it just doesn't make sense. It's like, oh, this is clearly Andy's favorite movie as a kid. Okay, so he has a Buzz Lightyear toy, which makes sense, but how come he never has any toy of any of the other characters? It makes no sense. Speaking of which, I forgot to mention Peter Stone as Socks the cat. He was probably the biggest scene stealer in the entire movie, so I'll give the movie that. A lot of this movie just doesn't make sense. It's not interesting. It's kind of dry. It tries to take itself way too seriously, and that's kind of the thing about Buzz is that he's not even that serious. And like at the beginning of the first Toy Story, he was pretty serious, but that's when he thought he was actually Buzz Lightyear. Here, it just doesn't make any sense. Also, what is the point of this? Like, because remember there was a TV show back, like I don't remember when I was remember back when I was like a kid, there was a TV show about Buzz Lightyear when he was a space ranger. So what is even the point of this movie? I think that's what kind of confused a lot of people too. Like, what is even the point of this movie? It's just to make money. And it clearly is not making money right now, and I don't blame them. Also, the messages in the movie are just a little iffy. Like, usually Pixar's messages usually Pixar's messages are usually good, and sometimes the message ends up saving a movie for me. The messages here are a little bit odd because, like, the message of the movie is, you are where you're needed. And at the same time, they're also saying, don't keep trying. It's weird when you see the movie because, like, I don't know what kind of message they were trying to send for this movie because I just, like, it's just really messy. The messaging of the movie is messy, and it just does not make sense to me. Also, the side characters, besides Kiki Palmer and Uzo Aduba and Peter Sohn, none of them are really that interesting. Like Taika Waititi, who I love, his character is just very boring, and I just felt like it was just Taika Waititi on autopilot. He's doing a whole lot right now, so it makes sense. But his character was kind of boring. Darby was kind of boring to me. I just didn't care too much. And it just, as I was watching it, it kind of felt unbelievable that this was actually Andy's favorite movie. Like, at what point does. There was no point in this movie where I can imagine someone like Andy, who must have been like 10 when he saw this movie. It just never made any sense. This would be a movie that would probably interest grown-ups more than it would kids. And that's kind of part of the problem, because like a Toy Story movie can appeal to kids and adults, but I feel like this movie tries so hard to aim for the adults it kind of forgets about kids. Usually I have the opposite with kids movies. They try so hard to cater to kids they then don't really do anything for adults. It felt weird. It was just a weird experience of a movie. Like, it just, to me, Lightyear just kind of didn't work out. Even though the voice acting's good, the animation's good, a lot of the production values in this movie are good, and there are some good moments throughout this entire movie. The whole idea of this movie is just messy. The whole messaging of the movie is just uneven. It's not funny, it's not interesting, it's very bland throughout the entire movie, too. And I just feel like it was just not necessary to make this movie. Even if you did put Tim Allen in this movie and have him do the exact same things that Chris Evans does in this movie, it would still be kind of boring. Like, I kind of just did not expect this movie to be. I didn't expect this movie to tank like it did. I just didn't expect this movie to be as boring as it was. I'll give Lightyear. I don't know. I'll give it 2 out of 4 stars. Stream it. So, what is the most disappointing Pixar movie in your opinion? Comment down below, subscribe to the channel. This is Pat. Stay safe.